Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to video 2 in my series, Simple Pages with Impact. In this series, I share ideas on how to create big impact on simple pages, pages with wow that come together quickly. This one is for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop design team, and I'm going to be sharing a technique that's quick to create but looks difficult to do. And there's an added bonus. It's a great design for using scraps. Here's what I'm going to be using. I have leftovers from Vicki Boutin's print shop collection. I love Vicki Boutin products, but this collection has to be among my favorites. I find it so easy to use. The last time I checked, the Scrapbook Nerd was well stocked with this collection, so I will link up the shop along with the products I use in the description box below. So here's what's on my desk. I have a photo of me with a dear friend in front of the iconic Welcome to Nova Scotia sign. And we've been friends for decades and have said for many years we wanted to do a road trip to Nova Scotia together, and we finally did. I also have a piece of 12 by 12 tone-on-tone paper. What's important here is that you have paper that contrasts white cardstock. Now I trimmed this white cardstock down to 11.5 by 11.5. Then I cut a heart out from the top left corner. I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the process. I have a bunch of scraps from the print shop collection. Actually, you're getting a good idea of what a collection looks like after I've played with it for a few months. In this tray, I have a bunch of embellishments, and I'm showing you I have all of these baggies here. Basically, I've kind of saved everything. I have a bunch of die cut pieces from past projects. I have fussy cut pieces. I even have ephemera pieces that have adhesive on the back. Basically, I used them or tried to use them on previous projects and changed my mind. So what I did was, instead of throwing them away, I basically put wax paper or paper behind it to cover up the adhesive. Also here I have titles, and you can see it's completely cut up. That's from the print shop collection as well. I also have cardstock stickers along with chipboard stickers. So I'm going to be digging into all of that later on when I embellish my page. The first thing I want to do is talk about this heart. Now I use the custom cutting system from Creative Memories. You see that pink heart there. I got that free with purchase many years ago. To cut out a heart or whatever shape you want, you can cut out a circle or a flower or whatever you want. Just use the custom cutting system, or the cutting system I should say, of your choice. You can even do it by hand if you want. The heart that I cut out measures 7 3/4 inches wide and 6.5 inches long. If you do decide to cut it out by hand, a great way to kind of mask any imperfections is just to distress the edges a bit. Also, I have a bunch of scraps here, and what I did was I narrowed down my selection. So with my photo in mind, I started by finding a piece of paper, a scrap, that had all of the colors, basically a multicolored scrap that coordinated with my photo. And then I went in and started selecting other papers to coordinate with my multicolored scrap. So I brought in that green paper there, kind of a tone on tone. I had this floral with multicolors, but with my photo in mind, I preferred the blue floral, so I decided to put the multicolored floral off to the side. And I also have this other one. It's a tone on tone. It almost looks like graph paper, that mint color. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with 4 different prints here. I have that blue paper there, that scrap. That will be a photo mat a little bit later on in the process. The first thing I want to do is trim down all of these scraps of paper. Basically, with the 4 different patterns, I'm cutting out 3 strips of paper each, all in different widths. So mine, the largest width is 1 inch. The smallest, I think, is about 3/8 of an inch, and I kind of do everywhere in between. So basically, I did 1 inch 3/4 of an inch, and the smallest one I varied a bit. So I do it in all 4 papers. You don't need 4 prints. That's just what I selected because that's what I thought looked nice with the scraps that I had on hand. But I would suggest 3 to 5 different pattern papers to cut up here into strips. Now, I don't end up using all of these strips, but with the 4 papers and 3 in each, so that's 12 different strips of paper, I use almost all of them. Now, what I'm doing right now is just adding a bit of ink to all of these strips of paper, and the ink I'm using is Morning Mist by VersaFine Clair. I don't make you watch all of it, but you can see all of these strips of paper are now inked up. The next step is to place that white cardstock on top of the foundation page and trace a heart or trace whatever shape you're using in pencil on top of the foundation page. You can't really see it on the screen, but I can see it in person. And what I want to do with these strips of paper is simply cover up that pencil drawn heart. Now I'm doing this on the horizontal. You can do it on the vertical, you can do it on the diagonal. I find that doing it on the horizontal, it is easiest, if you want to keep them straight, to start at the top as opposed to at the bottom. You can see I'm coming in every once in a while with my T-square, making sure that I'm being straight with this. I'm more or less, though, eyeballing it. I just come in every once in a while and make sure I'm straight. For me, I'm leaving a little bit of space in between each one of these strips of paper so that I can see that blue paper peeking through. That's not necessary. You can bump up these strips of paper one against the other if you like to do that as well. So anyway, I do this to cover the entire heart, and then what I do is I come in with a pair of scissors and I'm just going to snip a bit here, making sure that the heart, I should say, is completely covered up. And now the magic begins. That was very easy to do, but when I place that white cardstock on top with that heart cut out, it looks absolutely beautiful, and it's so easy to create. And that's what I mean when I say the technique looks more difficult than it actually is. The result is really quite complex, but it's quite easy to create. So I adhered that white cardstock on top, made sure to put adhesive all around the heart as well as all around the outside of that white cardstock. Now what you see me doing is coming in and just simply cutting out a photo mat for my photo. My photo measures 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and the mat is 1/4 inch larger. I find with this technique, it's a good technique for a one photo layout because that heart has such a huge impact on the page. It also looks very nice with a portrait oriented photo as well. Now I want to establish a spot for my journaling as well as the title. So I have the title. It is Loving This Photo, which is from the title sheet. And I also am showing you that I cut out 2 tags in advance. Now I used a tag die from Tim Holtz. It's an old die set, but there are other tag die sets in the Scrapbook Nerd shop. So if you want a tag die set, make sure you check it out. I really got a lot of use out of my tag dies. And I also cut out some reinforcers for those tags as well. So I know the title as well as the tags is going to go towards the bottom of the page. You see a lot of white space there. And you can see I have a bunch of embellishments around me. My plan is to create one main embellishment cluster, basically hugging the right hand side of my photo. You can see me building up there with the flowers. Then what I am going to do is come in with some leaves, kind of tucking them underneath. So I start with the bigger leaves, which is actually from the floral die cut collection. And then I'm going to come in with some smaller leaves, and those were die cut leaves that I had cut out for a previous project, but I did it in that green paper, which is also in that stripes as well. So I really like introducing that green in with the blue. So also in the floral ephemera pack, there are green leaves in that floral ephemera pack. It's just that I use them all up. So I start with the bigger pieces. I have flowers, I have leaves, and I come in with a bird, and then I tuck in the smaller green leaves. Now I'm kind of placing my photo underneath there, just a little to the right of that tag there. I'm also coming in with another die cut piece, thinking maybe I will add that as well. Now I do like it. However, when I use this technique, when I create the heart or whatever shape with all of those strips of paper, I find that has a pretty big visual impact on the page. So for that reason, I like to keep the rest of the page pretty simple, because that does take up a lot of visual space. It's quite beautiful, and I want it to basically be showcased. So for that reason, I am putting one main embellishment cluster on the opposite side of that heart, and I'm keeping things pretty simple. I'm also keeping a lot of white space around there as well. So I played around with that cluster, and now I'm coming in with my adhesive and adhering all of the pieces down. I'm tucking some of them behind the photo, some of them between the photo mat and the photo, and some of them on top of the photo. One of those flowers I popped up on foam adhesive. You can see me tucking that little bird in there. I ended up having to cut off his feet so that it would work with my cluster, and I do that sometimes, just altering pieces of ephemera to make it fit for my clusters. And now I'm about to adhere that title at the bottom there. So I'm putting the title down, and I'm more or less going to come in with some finishing touches. I do have some reinforcers. Now, I mentioned earlier when I cut out those tags, that tag set had some reinforcers, and I cut them out in two colors, in blue and in green. I often wait till the end to add reinforcers because it's a great opportunity to add a hint of color somewhere, and sometimes you don't know what color you may need. I ended up going with one blue and one green. I'm just looking in the stickers and chipboard for something small to put in the top left of that photo. I end up going with a little sticker that says sweet. I didn't want it to be too big. I wanted it to be very, very subtle. And then I came in with a few other pieces there. I ended up tucking a butterfly in behind the bird. I have the number 2. I thought that would be good. I thought I would subtly tuck it in my cluster somewhere, but I end up deciding not to use it. And now I'm just adding a little bit of twine to those tags. So I cut myself out, or I should say, I tie myself a couple bows, and then off camera I adhere them with a little glue dot. But that is basically it. So this is my finished layout. And off camera, I added my journaling. So just to review, I started with a 12 by 12 piece of paper and a piece of white cardstock that measured 1/2 inch smaller. I cut a heart out in the white cardstock, then traced the heart in pencil. I adhered the stripes of paper on top of the pencil drawn heart, then place the white cardstock on top. And voila, I have a super cool heart that makes a huge impact on the layout. I hope you enjoyed this video 2 in simple pages with impact. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, we would be thrilled if you did. The same thing for my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, where you will find more videos in this series. Don't forget to check out the Scrapbook Nerd online shop for these fun supplies and more. Take care, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.